Welcome back to the next episode of the eCom Growth Show. I'm your host, Danon Coleman, founder of eCom Triage and 15-year veteran seller on Amazon. With me, I've got a very interesting guest because when we're talking about launches, we're not just talking about products. So I've got Jerry Vida. Jerry, would you please introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your, who are you? What do you do? And don't forget the rockets.
Yeah. So, hey, how you doing? Jerry Vida. Been a e-commerce seller since 2008, in just about every capacity that you can imagine. From the good old days until, basically what we have today. Started
Badlands.
out, what was that?
The Badlands.
Yeah, the Badlands. I prefer when it was the Wild West,
Me
right?
too.
Like, back in, I guess, what people would call like the golden age, but I still think it's a golden age of e-com right
I
now.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree. It's more
Yeah.
sophisticated.
But it is more sophisticated, more competition, but there definitely were the good old days with the Wild West.
Yeah.
So I've worked basically with every major e-tailer out there, a lot of first party through places like Home Depot and Wayfair and Lowe's and Target and Kohl's, all of the independent websites that are out there, and now primarily focus in Amazon, Shopify.
Cool. I
Yeah.
like it. It's good to know that you also focus on Shopify. I do feel that if you've got a legitimate brand, it's super important to have your own e-commerce site and then have strategies to drive traffic there and stuff like that. But I remember it was probably about 5, 6 years ago now. Shopify was all the rage for Amazon sellers, and arguably the vast majority of those sellers failed at that. Myself being one of them, where for me, I went, this is far too much work. I have to drive traffic, build interest, drive traffic, all the marketing, which is effectively done for you by Amazon. And when people land on Amazon, they're basically looking to purchase. On Shopify, nobody lands on your website unless you create that interest and drive them there, right?
Yeah, it is. And we really kind of made a shift in the way that we look at not just Amazon, but Shopify, right?
Mhm.
And initially we were doing the same thing, driving Google traffic, driving Facebook traffic, Meta traffic, all that kind of stuff. And we had some decent success at it. But it really wasn't until we started trying to look at Amazon more as a customer acquisition channel as opposed to just a revenue source, and trying to get customers out of Amazon into our Shopify ecosystem,
Okay.
driven through Klaviyo, just with upsells and cross sells and reoccurring revenue type of things, all based off of product inserts that we were including within the products that we were selling on Amazon. And we went through, I don't even know how many iterations of testing different inserts to see which ones had the greatest conversion rates of getting people to opt into our Klaviyo flows in Shopify.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where have you landed today? Because I know that it can be a bit of a dangerous game to play with Amazon when it comes to driving traffic off of Amazon. So what methods are you using today on your inserts to get people to opt in and then?
Right.
Okay.
So there's no mention of reviews. There's no mention of anything. It
Yep.
is literally a QR code that says, like upgrade your warranty or something like that. Right. Go to a lifetime warranty. We made the decision on some of our products to offer outlandish like value, right?
Mhm.
Like just maximize offers where we would say, you know, upgrade to a lifetime warranty, scan the QR code, right? Or get a free product, like those type of things.
Yeah.
And we saw that by doing that, we would increase the volumes of people coming into those flows. And then by through and systematically testing all the different points and things like that within the Klaviyo flows, we were able to do a pretty decent job of cross sells, getting people into reoccurring revenue model, subscribe and save, things like that. And it turned out okay, but early on we just skipped all the review stuff, with any of the inserts, and it's purely for, like upgrade your warranty or get a free product.
Yeah, cool. I did something similar. So I sold I don't sell these on Amazon anymore.
Yeah.
I decided to stop selling them because of cost. And honestly, I don't really care for doing private label on Amazon. I did an insert. I did camping blankets. So it was a
Mm,
7.5 foot by 7.5 foot down filled or synthetic filled camping blanket. So it packs down to about that at the largest. And what I did was an insert to register. So I put them through a registration process that sent them an email with care instructions.
gotcha. Hmm.
Yeah. And so
Yeah.
now I've got their email.
Yeah, so basically what we did is our we upgraded our warranty on everything and kind of made a satisfaction guarantee statement where it's buy any of our devices and you have a lifetime warranty. No questions asked, refund or replacement.
Yeah.
Right. So if somebody has one of our skincare devices and they bought it, 6 or 7 years ago, they drop it on the bathroom floor and it gets a little scratch, they want a replacement, I'll send them one.
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was a pretty bold statement at the time. I was
Yeah.
kind of freaking out,
Yeah.
because, of this brand. I mean, I've done 50 or 60 million on this brand,
Mhm.
right? Just on Amazon alone, right?
Mhm.
So we're talking a lot of units, right? And um, it was a pretty bold claim, but you got to differentiate yourself somehow.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, not as many people take advantage of it as you think, right?
Okay.
So it kind of worked out good.
Yeah. So I have a question regarding this.
Yep.
Uh do you set aside a certain financial amount or number of units that are expected to be used as replacements?
Initially we did,
Mhm.
right? Where we were kind of like, okay, based on return rates and stuff like that, this is what we kind of expect. But like I said, it didn't even come close. So now we don't.
Okay, so you don't even need to. So you can make that bold offer that is a
Yeah.
very, very big peace of mind to the client, to the buyer,
Hmm.
and but it's not
Well,
a factor.
the way that we looked at a lot of things within the business is we saw what was working for, honestly, for Amazon,
Mhm.
right? And we looked at what their policies were and we looked at what their leadership principles were and things like that. And we modeled a lot of that stuff in our business. Me and my business partner, Sid Parham,
Okay.
business partner. Yep, Sid. So we modeled everything that we could and tried to outdo Amazon, in their own game. So that's where we did. We were like, okay, we'll give lifetime warranty. We'll give lifetime return, right? Like you get one of our topicals. Like I'm not going to send you a new one, right? But I will give you a refund, like that, those type of things. And it just did a good job of kind of setting people at ease, making them comfortable with the purchase, letting all
Yeah.
the risk be on us,
Yep.
right, as opposed to being on them. And we take a lot of time and put a lot of energy into designing and manufacturing the products that we sell. Everything, like I said, we do skincare, we do hair care products. I have a wife and two daughters, right? And everything that we sell is something that I'm comfortable with them using.
Yeah.
Um, so once we get people into the brand, we always come from the perspective of we want to be on their skincare journey or their hair care journey with them for life, right?
Yeah.
And
Cool.
what better way to do that than to back up all of our products with a warranty and a guarantee like that?
I love it. Yeah. So the supplements that I take that I sell on Amazon
Mhm.
are the ones that I take.
Yep.
So they're made in America, uh,
Yeah,
and
all of our topicals and stuff like that are made in America. Just some of the manufacturing, we don't have capacity in the United States for it.
I
Just because
know
some of the
that's
some of the
yeah,
product is complicated to make. So
yeah, understood. And I ran into that with my blankets. I tried to bring
yeah,
my blankets into U.S. manufacturing, and every manufacturer that I spoke to said we don't have the equipment for that.
correct.
They couldn't. So they're nylon. It's a nylon shell with down or with synthetic, and
Mhm.
then sewn in patterns to keep that stuff in the same spot. And they
Sure.
didn't have the equipment to do that. So it was like, I only have two options: India or China. You know.
Would you go
So,
with?
well, I went with China. I actually went there to the Canton Fair and um, found a manufacturer and actually cut my cost of goods almost in half
Mm,
by doing that. So it was a very worthwhile trip. But at the same time, the manufacturing from, I went through 3 manufacturers where I actually ordered inventory, not just samples. And every single one of them had such vast discrepancies in the
Mhm,
amount of stuff that they would fill that
mhm.
I said, one of them, I put the 50%, gave them 30% down, 20% on delivery, and the other 50% on arrival. And I weighed it out. I'm like, guys, what the hell? Like, this is 6 ounces off. This is 8 ounces off,
Yeah.
you know? And they said, yeah, sorry about that. I said, well, look, I'm not going to pay you the other 50%. And like, yeah, that's fine. Like, okay.
Yeah, no, we work with 4 manufacturers overseas, and, we've worked with them for a long time. We have pretty good relationships with them. We go through a pretty extensive, testing process of everything and quality control process. Just again, because it's skincare products, right? It, like, directly touches the skin.
Yeah.
We do have, several certifications on it. We have some FDA stuff on it. Just because you have to. We did face some regulatory issues with some of it in Canada, just because it was deemed a class 2 medical device. But
Mhm.
we went through all the certification process, so it's pretty legit,
Yeah, that's
with
awesome.
the manufacturers out there. Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Have you ever visited your manufacturers?
I personally haven't. Sid has multiple
Okay.
times. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And what did you
So,
find the value of that was?
I think it's the relationship, right? We kind of get first crack at new products that they come out with just because we have the relationship with us. I mean, they'll literally email me and be like, "Hey, we got these like new things that we're doing. You want a sample?" And they're like, "Well, actually, it's already on the way, so be expecting
Yeah.
a package in a week." So it's that type of stuff. And then just seeing what's kind of going on because at the same time, um, we don't want to get into a place where we're working with a facility that is maybe not quite, where we want to be working, if you know what I mean.
I do.
So just being able to see some of that stuff firsthand, just made it a lot easier, especially with some of the volumes of product that we order at times.
Yeah.
Because we've ordered some massive amounts of product, especially during, like COVID and after COVID with
Yeah.
some of the deals that we ran through Amazon. I mean, like literally millions of dollars of
Inventory.
inventory that we'd order from these guys, at a
Yeah.
time, right?
Yeah.
So it's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah. I don't envy that. I like my situation where my manufacturer's in California,
Mhm.
and we just say, hey, we need this many units sent into Amazon. Here's the label.
Oh, yeah. No, there was like, so we, I, like, I was able to negotiate out a couple of deal of the days with the Amazon deals team. I had
Mhm.
one run in February, one run in March, one run in April, and one ran in May. And on those 4 deals, just those 4 deals alone, sold $1.7 million in product, right?
Nice.
Just on those 4 combined days.
Yeah.
And the way that the deals work within Amazon, you have to have all that inventory kind of in FBA ready to go.
Yeah.
So it was a logistical and cash flow nightmare
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
be able to support that, but it worked out, right?
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have been able to do it without great relationships with our suppliers.
Yeah.
So,
Cool.
yeah.
All right, awesome. Well, Jerry, I've got some questions that I've
Sure.
got prepared for you here.
Yeah.
So if you're ready, I'm going to fire
Fire
off
away.
some
Yeah.
on. All right, cool. So, tell me about how you got into e-commerce and your journey in the e-commerce space.
Yeah. So, like I said, I've been working in e-commerce since 2008. And at the time, I was doing systems admin for a manufacturing company out in Michigan, where I used to live,
Hmm.
that sold outdoor furniture. And when the whole financial crisis thing happened back in 2007, 2008, um, they were, desperate to bring in sales. And I kind of raised my hand in a meeting, and was like, what about e-commerce? Right. Because I was the IT guy at the time.
Yeah,
And e-com was kind of getting a start then.
yeah,
And everybody was like, oh, sure, whatever, Jer, like go do your thing.
Yeah.
And within 6 months, with building the relationships with the different various websites that I was able to get in contact with, uh, I did, $1.2 million in wholesale in the first 6 months, and that kinda
Nice.
started my e-commerce journey.
So
Yeah.
that raised a few eyebrows
It
within the
raised a
company
few
and
eyebrows.
probably for you as well, huh?
It did, right? Yeah, and it like,
Yeah.
at the time, I was, I was doing system admin, right? I was managing Exchange servers and web servers and data servers, those type of things. My formal education is in systems admin and robotics, and, it completely changed the path, I guess you could
Yeah.
say, that I've been on. Mhm.
Would you say that having an education in sysadmin, robotics, and being on that technical side of things, did that lend well to uh to launching your own products and then eventually launching your own agency?
Absolutely. You know,
How?
I think that it's come down to just because of the education and the way that some of the work processes happen and the logic flows, it just
Yes.
made it very easy to kinda be able to prioritize the different various things and build systems, repeatable systems
Yes.
that you could use to identify, different various products, how to build them out the right way, how to build SOPs that allow like myself and the team to do things efficiently and accurately, within everything. Even to this day, we have massive SOP libraries that can basically like walk you through exactly how to do any of the repeatable functions within the business, the agency and the brand for that matter. And I
Mm.
think that it's also made it a little bit easier, for me, coming from the engineering background, right, where there's always problems that you're trying to solve. I think I've
Yes.
gotten really, really good at understanding how to solve the problems to get you from where you are now to where you want to be.
Yeah,
So
because it
it
is all
absolutely is,
systems.
made it easier.
Yeah. So I would wager that it's actually systems that make that possible.
It is, for sure. I mean, like, we come up with a lot of out of the box stuff, like, I like to operate kinda on that, Wild West edge of things, and I've got some stories that, that we've done some things over the years, but again, it's really coming up with solutions about how to solve the problems or how to get over the roadblocks to get from where you are to where you wanna be.
Yeah. Firmly believe that a bit of like guerrilla marketing is necessary in
For
this
sure.
day and age. I'm a big fan of it because one of the things that I did way back in my days at Managed by Stats was we weren't sponsoring any events.
Mhm.
And I went, well, how can I get the brand out there? And I had a buddy that was speaking on a panel. So I made him a massive logoed Managed by Stats. I said, hey, would you wear this on stage? He's like, yeah, sure, no problem. And so now at Prosper Show with hundreds, if not thousands of sellers, here's
Mhm.
a 100-foot screen with my buddy speaking and Managed by Stats plastered at like 40 feet of it.
Sure.
So things like that, I think are absolutely brilliant. And, let's be honest, influencer marketing was once a guerrilla form of marketing,
Sure.
before it became an organized form of marketing. That was something that I used. We did a scan care. It was a 3-part vitamin C serum and hyaluronic acid and some lotion.
Sure.
I didn't help design it. That was my wife and our partner at the time. But that's what we used. Is we just sent it out to YouTube makeup
Mhm.
people and said, hey, would you use this? And it worked. You know.
Yeah,
Uh,
a lot of the stuff that we really used to like to rely on was, especially on Amazon, right? We used to run a lot of really, really high profile deals, right? Where, we would get a deal of the day or, be involved with, really high placement, 7-day deals, best deals, like those types of things. And just figuring out different ways of increasing sales velocity at specific times to essentially secure improved placement within the deals platforms and things like that, right? Just because it solves it, that's the problem. Like, how do you go from the third page of the deals page to the top row of the first page? Like, how do you do that, right?
Yeah.
What's the solution to do those type of things? Because that's the problem, right? So just figuring out creative ways to do those type of things. Um, and like for example, we ran a deal, and the deal of the day did, 295,000 in sales in a day, right? And people would be like, "Oh my God, that's crazy. That's a massive amount of sales."
Mhm.
Yeah, but the thing about it is if we were in the first position in that deal, we would have done 700,000,
Oh,
right?
wow.
So how do you get from the fourth place to the first place?
Yeah.
You know, so those are a lot of the things that I like working on, like those really, really complex, like nuanced, problems to
Yeah.
just drive massive amounts of daily sales.
I like it. Well, look, your success uh, proves that you're capable of solving these
Sure.
problems,
Yeah.
which, if I'm not mistaken, led to you creating an agency called Peak ROAS.
Yeah, there's a couple things, that led to it. When we were growing the brand, Sid and I, when we're growing the brand, uh, I mean, we drove it up to 8 figures. It's just a lot of work to do that. We basically looked at the different parts of the business that we could offload. Because at the time, I was managing the PPC, the advertising by myself, right?
Yeah.
Like I was doing that on a daily basis.
Yeah.
With still trying to grow out the business and, manage the team and do all those different various things.
Yeah.
And I said if there was any one thing that was systematized, right, like my system thinking, it's advertising. So
Yeah.
we started working with a couple of different agencies to manage that, to offload it from our plate. And a couple of them did okay. A couple of them were absolute disasters.
Yeah.
Uh, but inevitably, it just got to the place where it was like nobody was capable of managing it as successful as we were. So we
Mhm.
brought that back in house.
Okay.
But it was still time consuming, right? So we sat down and looked at ways of automating things, and that's kind of where we started building our own internal tools to do everything.
Okay. So you tools.
Yeah, we built our own internal tools, yeah, and it worked really, really well. And then, just like you, like, we know people in the industry, like, we've been, part of
Yeah.
masterminds and all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So we started, helping a couple of our friends out, and it was just successful, and
Yeah.
it and then,
Literally every.
like, we're
Yeah.
doing the deal. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
This
So
is literally every success story of the original softwares in the Amazon space
yep,
is that you were part of a mastermind. You got fed up with Amazon flat files, if they were even called that back then. I actually don't know. And then you built something and you said, and it came up like, well, how are you managing this? We're like, oh, well, I built this little thing. You're like, well, I want that,
exactly.
you know?
Exactly the same thing, right? But
Yeah.
it evolved over there, from there, for what we're doing and stuff like that. And it didn't just stop at Amazon advertising, right? There are a bunch of different things that we're doing based on our success and our experience with the things, with the brands that we have that we still operate today, right?
Yeah.
Like I still, was managing advertising in my accounts this morning, right? But it's really looking at optimizing offers, optimizing detail pages, like those type of things. So it is more of a holistic approach that we do, with the agency at
Yeah.
this point. Yeah,
I constantly tell sellers, if they talk to me like, yeah, I need someone to do my PPC, if I look at their listings and they're not great, which is like, I don't know, 90% plus of the time, I tell them, hey, listen, Amazon will still happily take your money to send shit traffic to a shit listing. You need
exactly.
to start at the listing. That is the foundation of your
And
entirety
And not
existence.
even with and even more so, like, what we're seeing a lot, which I built some really cool internal AI agents for as well,
Yeah.
because like, like I come from programming, Sid comes from programming, but especially with how we're seeing now, some of these shifts in Cosmo and Rufus, right, to more intent based.
Uh-huh.
We've been doing a lot of listing updates based around that. I built out a really kick ass AI agent that does some really amazing stuff with listings and search query performance reports and building.
You can't make claims like that. Can anyone access this
No,
kick-ass agent?
nope, it's internal. But
Yeah.
any of the clients that, well, we're working on something, we're working on something, I'll say
All
that.
right. All right. Keep me
But
in the loop.
basically, what this AI agent does is it analyzes the listing. It looks at it, you give it some search query performance data or Helium 10 or like whatever tool you're using, right? Same thing, and it looks at what the listing is. It goes through Cosmo and Rufus, to kind of set up some of the relevancies there. It builds out ideal customer profiles, answers buyer decision questions, and then kind of I've mapped out different language tones that it rewrites listings in with all of that data, and basically looks at the product and says, hey, this is the best tone based on this, right? And it spits out some really great titles and bullet points and descriptions and back-end search terms. And we've been having some really great success with A/B experiments, because every client that we take now, that's the very first thing that we start working on, is looking at increasing click-through rates and can add to carts and conversion rates.
So you've got an exact date, coincident time of where they came to you, you implemented this. We can see the stats.
Yep,
And
100%.
all right, cool. Well, I'm going to give you my next question.
Sure.
This is regarding your agency.
Yeah.
We talk about uh, have a conversation like what challenges have you encountered in building your own Amazon agency?
Probably the biggest one initially is just the time involved with things, right? And building out a team,
Yeah,
right? So it's taking the processes and the methods, tactics, strategies that are inside of my head, right? And getting them turned into SOPs, right?
yeah,
Where I can sit down with somebody else and say, okay, here is how we do this. Here is how I do this. Here's the thought process behind it. And, turning that into something that can teach someone else to do it, right?
yeah,
Th- Bringing clients on hasn't been too brutal. I mean, we are very selective with who we work with.
yeah,
But it's just making sure that we have enough bandwidth between myself and the team members to be able to service clients properly. Because one of the issues that we ran into with working with some of the other agencies was, and another reason why we decided just to do it ourselves, was that there was all kinds of opportunity that we saw within our accounts, and we're told that we see that too, but the time to do it is a little bit greater than what we allocate our account managers to work on your account. And I
out
was
of
like,
scope.
oh yeah, that's great, yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
So the biggest challenge probably is, just finding people that are capable, because I don't want to train them from the ground up. I need to kind of step in,
yeah,
and building out the procedures to get them up to speed to be able to manage the, accounts and in the methods that we do.
yeah, cool. I've recently been considering, so I've spoken with my wife and my buddy who, if anyone comes to me for ad stuff, they go to my friend because he's been running ads since they dropped, went
Hmm.
live on 3P. Um, and we're considering going into brand management as well,
Hmm.
but we're going to be hyper selective because we only want people that want profit, you know, and not to just like scale something and not make
Well,
profit.
that's how we look at it too, right? And we have a pretty amazing, like, guarantee. Like I said, like, we like guarantees, like we like those things. So for the agency, our guarantee on it is, if we cannot double the ROI in your investment in us as an agency in the first 90 days, we'll refund your money.
Yeah,
So
that that probably I would call that an offer you can't refuse.
It is. It puts all the risk on us, right? It
Yes.
really does. And
Yes.
so say, just throwing numbers out there, right? Like, so say we're working with a brand and the flat fees, 4,000 a month. Like I will double that ROI on that, like in the first 90 days. Right. So that's the promise. And it is profit focused. So everything that we do within the agency is profit focused. Everything that we do within our brands is profit focused. For the longest time, we got caught up in the game of scale, right? Like more, right? Like everybody wants you to spend more in advertising, right? And drive more revenue. And everybody wants you to get more inventory and get more reviews. And Amazon wants you to offer more discounts and do this, that, and the other. And everybody's always talking about more, right?
Yeah.
Like more. But at the end of the day, does anybody say, does the more result in more profit in your bank account?
No, it
You don't.
usually doesn't. And because let's just taking not just money, but your time spent,
It is.
right? That has a value too.
Well, yeah. So if, like, for example, um, we'll use year one and year two, right? So year number one, I did on one of my skincare brands, I did 7 million in Amazon US, right? And
Incredible.
just shy of $1 million profit, right?
Yeah.
So I went to the team and I'm
Right.
like, all right, here's what we did, like awesome, we're gonna do it, right? I'm like, we are going to hit 10 million next year, right? And everybody's gonna work hard, everybody's gonna do more, right? And we're just gonna do it. So I literally drove the team to the point of, like, wanting to, like, strangle me. You know what I mean? Like, just really drove the team. And
Yeah.
we did. He, spent more in advertising and grew revenue and offered all kinds of crazy deals and all that type of stuff. And we did. We hit just shy of 10 million, right?
Yeah.
From one year to the next. And when the accountants sat down with us and they were like, yeah, you did, your profit was 700,000. We're like, what just happened? You know what I
Huh?
mean?
Yeah.
And so that's really where we kind of started to look at things from, like, do the inputs, because it's all inputs, right? Like, you're inputting more money, you're inputting more time. Do all of these inputs that we're doing, right? Does it result in higher profitability?
Yeah.
You know? So it really is. And it's counterintuitive to just the overall theme of the industry, right? Of always trying to scale and always trying to spend more and always trying to do more. Well, that's great, right? But does it result in more profit? So we come from a profit based approach. And I'll tell you, a lot of times it does work out where brands, we pull back a little bit, right? Like, we pull back in advertising, right?
Yeah.
We pull back in deals, we maybe increase prices a little bit. And sure, top line might come down a little bit or stay the same. But when you see a 10 or 15% increase in profitability, like, what's actually going into your bank account, people are like, oh, okay, that's cool. Right? It's less time that they have to invest. It's less energy that they have to invest, less cash flow that they have to invest into inventory and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So that's how we manage everything that we do now, is all based at the end of the day on profit.
Yeah. That's, you know, you can imagine how many agencies approach me like, hey, refer to us, refer to us, refer to us. And I refer to, well, probably less than 5 agencies,
Hmm.
but hearing you say that, you're on my list now
Yeah.
because, we had a client at eCom Triage that they were doing, I think it was around 50 to 70,000 a month in advertising.
Hmm.
And we did an audit and we found basically $25,000 of wasted ad spend.
It's crazy.
It's crazy. It made revenue, but it sure as hell didn't make profit. And so we had a conversation with them and we just went over, okay, what are costs and stuff like that. And we basically came up with a target ROAS that made sense catalog wide because they have hundreds and hundreds of products, right? And we pulled, um, at the end of the day, we increased some bids and spend and stuff like that.
Mhm.
basically did a 3-month cleanup, and we pulled about 17K a month in wasted ad spend and just got rid of that. Now, they of course lost a, you know, I don't know exactly off the top of my head. Let's call it $25,000 a month in revenue, but that was unprofitable revenue.
That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
And that's the thing, and that's a lot of the stuff that we do, at least initially the ad account. We see, honestly, which always shocks me, but it's pretty common, is massive amounts of wasted spend through just like non-converting customer search terms, right? Where it's simply going through and using a lot of negative exact matches at the
Mhm,
ad group level to just
mhm,
filter out, customer search terms that are triggering impressions and clicks
mhm.
that just don't convert.
Yeah. Or
Massive
maybe
amounts.
they do, but it's like
No, I'm
110%.
not. No, I'm just saying that they don't. Right?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, there's
you'll
yeah.
see ones where it's like, the customer search terms triggering, hundreds of clicks, right? No conversions, yet you don't do anything about it,
Right.
right? Just
Yeah.
it's crazy. And then, like you said, like we look at things from break even perspectives with a lot of the clients. And, sure, there are definitely specific keywords that, just based on ranking and things like that, you kind of leave those alone. Even if they're at a break even or maybe a little bit above, just because of how it trickles down to the rest of everything else. But there are
Yes.
absolutely cases where, you're running at ridiculously high A costs, and every time you sell something, you just lose money.
Yep.
For the sake of revenue, revenue is a vanity metric to me, man. I don't care,
Absolutely.
right?
Yeah. I used to be embarrassed to not be able to say that I was a seven-figure seller, a yearly seven-figure seller,
Mhm.
until I found out that not everybody, of course, but enough people had less net revenue than I did at
Yeah.
400, 500,000
Yep.
than when they were doing 2 million plus.
Mhm.
And they had staff and they had warehouses and all I did is make sure we had inventory. I don't even run ads.
Yeah, at the end of the day, man, like, at the end of the day, as long as I can, feed my family, go on some, like, vacation or something like that, and pay the people, like, a decent, living that
Yeah.
work for the organization, like, I'm happy. You know, I did the exact same thing where it's like, I want this revenue level, right? But it was really those 2 years that kinda opened my eyes to all of it, and I was like, "What did we just do?" Because, like I said, it was a lot of work and a lot of headaches to get to those targets, and we're talking like that brand had 25 ASINs. So you can imagine just and the average order value was like 49 or $50.
Yeah.
So you can imagine the volume of product that we would have to be able to do some of those things. I remember, $100,000, like air shipment costs from China to into Amazon to be able to
Just to keep it
service.
and stock it. Yeah.
Exactly,
Yeah.
like those type of things. And at the time, it's like, man, this is awesome. Like we just did 1.5 million this month,
Yeah.
right? But when you look
Why don't
at
we
it, you're
buy our
like,
own plane?
yeah, but how did we just break even? Like, what's going on here,
Yeah.
guys? You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah, it's all about profit.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Well, considering that it's all about profit, what does profit first mean? Like we've just had a 10-minute conversation, but what does it mean to you and how does that guide your strategy for your brands and your clients?
So essentially what we do is when we start working with a brand, we kind of take a baseline, right? Like we do, ask to kind of get into some of the nitty-gritty of it, with our clients, right? Which is part of it. And some of it's uncomfortable, right? Like I'll just tell you, right? Like not everybody's always, wanting to say like, okay, here's my exact cost of goods, right?
Yes.
Like here's what's going on, right?
Yes.
Like you're getting into the guts of it, right?
Yes.
Um, but it's really looking at, establishing a baseline of what's happening with the advertising, what's happening with the different promotions that you're offering, what's happening with returns, like all those type of different various things, and just really sitting down and looking at an ASIN by ASIN level profitability, right? And then setting that baseline and then sitting down and saying, okay, based on our experience, if we make a tweak in this, in this place for this listing, right? Like maybe it is changing the way that we're doing some of the promotions or, making a tweak within the listing to, increase click-through rates or add to cart rates or something like that. Or this is how we're going to modify things that are inside of the advertising for the specific ASIN. How does that impact the profitability, right?
Yeah.
So it's really just looking at snapshots in time and understanding, how it impacts that. And at the end of the day, our goal on an ASIN by ASIN level is always to get them to the place of diminishing return, right? Like there's that inflection point of how much money and time do I put into this ASIN and how much profit do I get out? And it really comes down to the place of increasing that time and money input until you get to that place where you start seeing the profitability, comparatively speaking, you're
Yeah.
starting to decrease.
Yeah. So that's actually an uh excellent point. You know what it makes me think of is, and I think you'll appreciate this being a rocket surgeon. So I think of engines,
Mhm.
right? There is there are things you can do to an engine to make them more efficient
Sure.
while at the same time as getting more power,
Mhm.
right? But there is a diminishing return on percentage of power and increase of efficiency where you go, great, I want 1,000 horsepower. Great, your efficiency just went out the freaking window
Right.
because of how much volume of air fuel that you have to put into this
Correct.
and all that stuff, right? And so like I did this, I was about to buy a Ford Expedition,
Mhm.
right? I mean an excursion, so the diesel.
Sure.
And I found out that I can do improvements to the engine that get it up to 900 foot-pounds of torque, 500 horsepower, and it'll get about 20 plus miles to the gallon
Yep.
on the highway with rolling on 44-inch tires.
Mhm.
Anything beyond that, though, yeah, you can get 1,000 horsepower out of this motor, but you're now going to get 12 miles to the gallon. And so there was this. It makes perfect sense.
Exactly, and that works. That literally works with every single ASIN, right? And that
Yeah,
was another reason why we wanted to just take things back from the agencies because
yeah,
every time that we would talk to a different agency, we would explain that to them, like, "Hey, we want to get to this place of diminishing return for all of our ASINs, like that maximum level of profitability, like that peak ROAS, right?"
yeah, yeah.
And
Ah,
they'd all be
nice
like,
little, nice little,
"Right."
plug there.
Yeah, yeah, they'd all be like, "Well, we don't work on this and we don't work on that, and we have no way to do it, and blah, 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 blah," right? Where at the end of the day, like, we kinda figured out a system. I mean, we use a third-party tool to, kinda help us with some of the profitability metrics. But, other than that, man, it's just systematically going through and applying the different various, techniques and strategies based on experience, to make those updates and optimize the listings in different ways to achieve the best numbers.
I love it. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Well, you've got my vote, so, and that's honestly not too easily come by, to be perfectly honest, having almost as much experience in e-com as you, but
Yeah.
all dedicated to Amazon. I'm gonna shift gears here. You ready?
Yeah, sure.
All right, sweet. AI.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
your well, yeah, how is it changing the way Amazon is managed, and what excites you most about it? I know you're doing your own agents, but let's go outside of what you've built.
Yeah, yeah, probably the most exciting stuff, that we're doing with AI and things is just how we are able to build out systems and use systems because I
Mm,
really think that that's important, right? On the level of repeatability, right?
yep.
And efficiency to do things. I know everybody's talking about, it's going to take jobs, it's going to take jobs, it's going to take jobs. right? Like it's going to do
Yeah,
that.
I think there are some jobs that are
But
good that it's going to take, but
it's some of
that's
them, right? But
yeah,
the thing is, though, is it's going to open a lot of opportunities for people to be able to use this stuff to manage the different
yes,
various things and improve efficiency, right?
yes,
So we are doing a lot of really cool stuff right now with listing optimization, with AI, and it has improved the process, at least from what we're doing, where we had a system that we would use to, say, update copy or, do keyword research, competitive research. And it's a very detailed process. It does a really great job and really puts us into a great foundational place from when we start working with clients. And it might have taken like an individual person, better part of a day to do some of that stuff, right?
yeah,
I mean, we've got it to the place now where we can get the same outputs in, 15 minutes,
yeah,
right?
that's incredible. My wife,
Mhm,
love her to death. She is when she's building a listing,
mhm,
I don't build the listings because what I do is I go, "Yes, I have this product. Yes, sell it."
mhm.
Right? When she builds a listing, she dedicates, like, 8 to 12 hours
Exactly.
building it, at
Yeah.
least.
Yep.
Like, basically, it doesn't get done for a week because she's researching this and making sure everything is perfect.
Mhm,
I used to hate that until she launched our private label, the blankets. I launched a product, she launched a product. I did zilch or a couple of sales, but effectively nothing.
mhm.
And she made consistent sales every single day, no PPC. I'm like, all right, I'm sold. I doing it the fast and loose way is not the way to go on Amazon with
It's
that was
it
my
it it
learning
really
lesson.
isn't, and going through, especially with all of this Cosmo and Rufus stuff, right? And incorporating that the right way into the listings. Um, Especially like I'm not a copywriter. Like I'm not, but the AI agents that we've built absolutely are,
Yeah,
right? And they will rival the top copywriters that are in the universe, right, for doing these things, and it's repeatable. It's easy. Like I built AI agents, right? Like within the business, right? And I mean, it just walks you through, it asks a couple questions, you give it some data. It does a really great job. One of the other things that we're seeing is I don't trust AI yet to do a lot of the advertising management, but it does a good job at helping with building out some of the foundational campaign
yeah.
strategies, you
That's how
know.
I use AI. Full stop. That's how I use AI.
Mm.
I use it to put me on the path that I need to be on, and then I make sure that it's dressed up by me.
And the stuff that's probably exciting me the most with it is a lot of the creative side of it with images,
Yeah.
right? Like that stuff, like I got some buddies, from some of the masterminds that are heavily involved in a lot of the creative side of things. And just some of that they're showing me with what AI is starting to become capable of is absolutely mind blowing. I mean, like
Absolutely.
mind blowing stuff. Like
Yeah.
I was like the same, I was like showing my wife some stuff that a friend of mine did, and she's like, "That's not real." I'm like,
Yeah.
"No, like
Yeah.
that's not."
Yeah. So
Uh,
which brings into the point that we do definitely need those security checkpoints in place that says, hey, this is an AI generated or some sort of tag that it can be determined that things are AI generated for security purposes. But also, I think a lot of people think, oh, yeah, ChatGPT, they put in a one sentence prompt and they go, this is crap. Well, there are so many like Mid Journey
yep.
predates ChatGPT
Mhm.
on on image generation, and they've been iterating and iterating and iterating.
Yeah, I went to like really what kind of opened my eyes to a lot of the AI stuff is a number of years ago now. I went to the AI bot summit put on by Perry Belcher in Las Vegas, a couple of years ago, and they were
Isn't he the
talking.
godfather of AI? Is that who Perry Belcher is?
A couple of things. Look him up. He's an interesting guy, but he really kind of embraced it and put together this, like this 3-day summit to kind of get people up to speed on like what was happening then,
Okay,
and uh,
not the guy I'm thinking of. Okay.
like the capabilities of things. And it was like, holy shit, like I can't believe that you can do this stuff now. And between then and today, I mean, like I can basically get, like Chat GPT to sit down and code out an entire system for me in like 5 minutes and plug it into, like write all the Python script and like get everything like that, together for me and get a 97% working, system going where I can sit down and make a few tweaks in the code to get it to 100%, where that would have normally taken, like days to do. I can
Yeah.
do it in like 10 minutes now.
Yeah. So I,
It's
I, I envy your knowledge in that. Did you see that ChatGPT just released a new version?
yeah, 5
Uh,
or something.
yeah. Let's see, 4.5 is it? But they've now got Codex, a dedicated spot, a dedicated GPT for writing code, which
Yeah.
ChatGPT's always been able to do that, but they actually built a dedicated one now.
Yeah, I was watching a podcast not too long ago, which is also
Ecom
exciting to
Growth
me
Show?
too. What was that?
Was it the Ecom Growth Show?
Of course.
Good.
Yeah. But no, I was watching a podcast about, just about AI and everything like that, and just the rate of progression that's kind of going on with it right now. I think we're on the cusp of the the GI, which is like the next version,
Yeah,
general intelligence,
yeah,
where the artificial intelligence will be smart enough and capable of performing, a lot of the functions that you and I do in our daily lives. Right.
yeah, yeah. That actually brings up. They also they released their agent. I haven't played with it
Yeah.
yet. Um, and but it is interesting. Like agentic AI is. I mean, you've already built agents. You can train them on certain things, and
Uh-huh.
I've got a buddy who's built something called Scenario.
Okay.
Scenario.ai. It's CERNERIO. I think that's how he spelled it. And you can build agents for specific purposes, but then bring them into a meeting.
Yep.
And when you ask specific questions, it'll go, hey, John, what do you think about this? Jerry, what do you think about that? And then there will be one that goes, yeah, okay, so based on this response and this response, I think if we're going to meet in the middle on this thing, then blah 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 blah. And it's a very unique tool. I've not seen anything like it where you're building agents for specified purposes and then just conversating as a group.
Yeah, because we're like the stuff that we're doing, like the agents that we built, right? Like one of them does, copywriting, does listing analysis and copywriting, right?
Yeah.
One of them does, it'll pull uh, uh, advertising data and it'll suggest, like how to build out, campaigns and ad groups and how you're grouping the keywords together in bids and stuff like that, right? It does pretty good. But those two agents don't talk to each other, right? Like
Right.
they don't sit there and say, hey, like based on the keyword data, like I'm suggesting you add this stuff into your, like that's kind of where a lot of this, general intelligence stuff is going because I
Yes.
can do that in my head. You can do that
Yes.
in your head.
Yes.
Right. But getting those two automated systems to work together, like that is the type of stuff where, when those capabilities happen over the next couple of years, because they're going to happen, right? Like
Yes.
they're going to happen,
Yeah.
that it is gonna just revolutionize the way that, that we operate, within Amazon, not only as brand owners, right, but as brand managers,
Yeah.
and I mean, like, I think that stuff is cool. Like,
I think
I'm
it's cool
excited
as
for it.
hell. And one of the things that has always been missing in the space when it comes to statistical analysis, everybody provides you statistics, right? Not everybody, but lots of SaaS companies provide you statistics. But what do you do with
What do you
that
do with
data?
it? Exactly.
Exactly. What do you do with it? Most sellers, not all, but most sellers are like, yay, more. Oh, less. Let me put
Mhm.
more into PPC.
Yep.
That's not always the solution. And in
It's
fact,
not.
it's rarely the solution.
That, like, there are cases where more into PPC,
Yes,
like,
of
does,
course.
but,
Of course.
you're absolutely right. I mean, a lot of it is, it's not just dumping money into
Right.
things. It's
Right.
not doing that, and it
Yeah.
really is, and a lot of, like, that's the other thing too, right? Is Amazon is absolutely like a multifaceted, marketplace. Like, you have to have the offer the right way. You have to have the listing the right way. You have to have the advertising the right way. You have to have the brand position the right way with reviews and feedbacks, right? Like, you have to have inventory the right way, like all these different things, right?
Yeah.
But that is so much data for the human brain to digest on an ASIN by ASIN basis. Like, how do you make decisions, right? And because it's, this is the decision for this ASIN does not mean it's the decision for this ASIN, right?
Correct. Yes.
So utilizing AI for that to analyze that massive data set, right? Like, that stuff just makes it exciting for me, you know?
Same here. Same here. And it's something that
Just
when I was at
lost you there
Managed
for
by
a second.
Stats, what's that?
Oh, it paused there for a second.
Oh, you lost me for a sec. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that is something that when during my tenure at Managed by Stats that I determined with our customers was, yeah, they've got the metrics, but they don't know what to do with it. And
Uh-huh.
so um the first thing we did was, okay, hang on a second. These are your top metrics, your top four. Good. You know those numbers.
Uh-huh.
What metrics contribute to this
Sure.
overall metric? So we built this tree of here's your main metric, your KPI. These are the contributors to that. And so we had graphs below each one. So you can't you can't solve a problem by just seeing an overarching metric go up or down. You need to drill down into what's the contributing factor,
Mhm.
right? And so that's what we were trying to build. Then my next version of that was what I was hoping we were going to build was good. This has happened. This is the scenario. This is the solution. Of course, it's not that way for everything all the time, but go look there. And if that's the thing, then you need to fix this thing by doing this other thing, right? And we were going to do this with training courses.
Oh, okay.
But today with AI and GI, you could take your agency SOPs and along with statistical analysis SOPs, which would also have to be built out, then go scenario is this is up or down. And these things are also up or down. This is the policy to implement. This is the likely place. Go look there. If this is that scenario, implement this policy.
Exactly. Yep. Yep. Because I mean, like, literally, it's almost like, like if thens,
Yes,
right?
exactly. Exactly.
If it meets, so that's like a lot of the stuff when I sat down and built out the advertising tools, right? It is. I mean, and advertising is advertising, right? Like, well, the way that you update, at least in my mind, the way that you update bids, right? It's if this is the condition, do this. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So it's
Yeah.
just setting up those conditions the right way. And this is, so like, you meet this condition, here's what you do. You meet this condition, here's what you do. Um, so yeah, sitting down and doing those analyses with AI would be the same thing. So it's just building out that cascading level of conditions, right?
Right.
Where it looks at the
Yes.
data and says, okay, this condition is met. Here's what you do to do, as far as your action goes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. I look forward to that day. And version one of that is of course going to be scenario is X, suggested resolution is Y, but then later it'll be scenario was X, suggested resolution Y was implemented, result was
Exactly.
right?
Mhm. And
And
that's
then
kind
you
of what we're
fine tune
doing
that.
manually right now
Yeah,
with the profitability thing, but
yeah,
systematizing that to where you basically just get a list of suggested, actions to take, and you
yeah,
just do it. Like, "Okay,
yeah.
bing, 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 here you go."
I love it. All right. Well, we're at the top of the hour here.
Yeah,
So I've got one last question.
sure.
First of all, for those of you that are still listening to us, thanks for listening to us
Yeah,
blab
thanks.
for an hour. Um, but Jerry is the COO of Peak ROAS.
Mhm.
And, based on my, albeit brief conversations with him, I would say based on his views and everything, I would 100% recommend his agency. But my last question to you, Jerry, is if you were explaining Peak ROAS to a brand founder over coffee, how would you describe it and what you do and why it matters?
Well, pretty simple. We're sellers first and foremost.
I think that's critical.
It is, right? And I still operate in Amazon today. Like I said, I still sell products in Amazon every day. It feeds my family, you
Yep.
know? Um, so essentially I would categorize us as brand partners, right? And we help brands achieve the level of success that we did by implementing the strategies, techniques, tactics that we use to scale our brands, to the level of profitability they are, and we help them do the same, right?
Fantastic.
But from the perspective of a seller to seller, right? Like I'm not just some agency that wants to, get your money and be done, right?
Yeah.
It
You
it
don't
really
go in,
comes down to
hey,
seller to
you
seller, you know?
yeah. So you're not like, welcome aboard. So we're going to double your ad spend so we can double the price that we charge.
No, no, not at all. No, not at all. I mean, we are very selective who we work with. We do work with a smaller group of clients, right? So
Yeah.
we do go through a pretty vigorous account audit, to see if we're a fit, to see if they're a fit for us, right? It's important for both sides. And we really want to make sure that we are able to uh, add value to the brand. Like we've done some, account audits for some really great brands, but, at the end of the day, what they were doing was already working, and there really was no point, so I'll be honest about that too. Like
Yeah.
if you what you're doing right now is working and we can't add any value, like you're in an awesome place. But a lot of times, we do see that there is a lot of room for improvement, if
I
someone's
love it.
coming to us.
All right, and we didn't talk about this beforehand, but if you as a listener are interested in speaking to Jerry or his team, peakroas.ai.
Yep.
And Jerry, what should people tell you? I heard of you from the eCom Growth Show, or
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, yep, yep.
cool.
From there, they can check me out on LinkedIn too, and then we will be attending Innovate in New York as well. If
Oh,
if,
okay, good.
if you want to stop by the booth.
Okay, oh, good. So
Yep.
you'll have a booth there. That's fantastic.
Yep. Yeah, and I
All
think
right,
I
well,
think we are planning to just go and hang out at Accelerate in Seattle. So if
okay,
anybody, wants to, connect with, myself or Sid and just have a chat or whatever, um, you know, message through the website or through LinkedIn or whatever, and we'll set something up.
cool. Yeah, so I will also have a list of parties and
Excellent.
yeah, and I've got my own party with a few partners that we are putting on. This for big brands, it's not for vendors. So you're not invited, Jerry,
I got a
but
brand though, so I qualify.
you're invited.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Um, Actually, I would love to have you at the party. As a matter of fact,
Yeah, cool.
your knowledge, I think it's a party for networking. It's not a party for selling. So your knowledge can be super valuable
And
to the
that
people.
that's the other thing too, right? At the end of the day, one of the other things that kind of I think, helps us to stand out a little bit is I'll explain what we're doing, right? And I'll
Yeah,
explain why,
yeah.
like we started working with a client a couple of weeks ago. Actually, he signed the deal like 3 days before Prime Day. Ballsy. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But like I like to let people know what's going on. It makes it easier for me but it also makes it easier for them. Comfortability, making decisions, like that kind of stuff. When
Yeah.
it's someone, taught me some things. I figured out a lot of it on my own, but would love to share knowledge with people. It's just, my personality.
Awesome. Well, I'll make sure that I send you the invite to the party
Awesome.
then. Cool. All right, Jerry, thank you so much for being on the show. And, you know, let us know when you are, when you're publishing your own agents.
Yeah. Well, just like a little sneak into it, like that is like we're kind of in process. So we're gonna have something here. Initially on the listing optimization side, and it's pretty cool what it does. Yeah, yeah. Yeah. Well, we're working on it, but don't tell nobody. Yeah, right, exactly. Good day, man. Hey, I appreciate it. All right.